Christopher Nolan keeps writing epic cautionary tales about powerful, complicated, deeply problematic men, but the problem is that he always falls in love with them. Bruce Wayne creates a symbol in Batman that helps escalate the violence that destroys Gotham. Oppenheimer creates the bomb and watches the bad actors in government turn his decision into mass death. And Odysseus creates the Trojan horse that helps destroy an entire society as he slowly realizes that he and his army have now become the barbarians that they thought they were fighting. These are all subversive cautionary tales about supposed great men, but Nolan's interrogation of these men gets so messy because he writes their guilt to become another part of their romanticized greatness. These great men are not only brilliant enough to change history, they're also uniquely tortured for what they've done to others, and their remorse for what they've done becomes a part of their myth. These men often do terrible things and they get to suffer beautifully in IMAX, and Nolan's stories center their pain instead of the people whose lives became collateral damage. And the Odyssey might be the clearest example yet of that non-committal writing style. Odysseus realizes that his greatest achievement is also his greatest regret, but Nolan still gives him this awesome John Wick-esque final moment and massacre to end the movie, and that writing choice helps Odysseus preserve his family, preserve his power, and saves him in the audience's eyes as this redemptive, complicated, great man. Nolan writes Odysseus to personally decide what his own accountability should look like for his actions, which in most of Nolan's movies usually looks like leading men riding off into the sunset, feeling sort of bad what they did with an Anne Hathaway figure by their side. I'm sure they will live a really tough life. Nolan is just incredible, and I would even say manipulative at that sleight of hand, where he shows us, the audience, the cost of being this great man, where he semi-critiques these men and their hubris, but he is much less willing to imagine a world that stops centering them. The Prestige might actually be the rare screenplay where Nolan actually seems self-aware of the men he's writing and is sort of embarrassed by them, as both Bale and Jackman are playing characters who are essentially stunted men obsessed with magic tricks at the cost of everyone they love. And Nolan doesn't really give either of them a redemptive ending. So the Odyssey is objectively a massive epic spectacle. No one is doubting that, but it's also another example of the Christopher Nolan screenwriting problem. He wants to criticize historically significant men like Odysseus, but paradoxically, he is in love with men like Odysseus. And that lack of fully interrogating or exploring these men and their interiority or what they've done to others is why I think his stories are so convoluted, and why I think the discourse around Christopher Nolan movies is so toxic.